Some people spend their entire lives building a reputation, a name, a legacy. My parents spent 50 years doing exactly that, and it took me one evening to watch it crack from the inside out. Not because I planned it, not because I came looking for revenge, but because they showed up at my door smiling after 20 years of pretending I was dead. And what they found waiting for them wasn't what they expected. My name is Ethan Myers. I'm 36 years old. This is the story of the night everything they built came undone. Portland, Oregon, November 2004. I was 16, youngest child of Richard and Diane Myers. On paper, the perfect family. My father ran a successful law firm downtown. My mother chaired the Parent-Teacher Association 4 years straight. Every Sunday, front pew, coordinated outfits. The picture of perfection. But perfection has a hierarchy, and I learned mine early. My brother Nathan was the son who'd carry on the family name. My sister Carolyn, graceful, obedient, never a wrong step. And then there was me. My mother once called me the surprise. Born 6 years after she thought she was finished. I don't think she ever forgave me for it. My school portraits never made it onto the living room wall. When I mentioned making the honor roll, my father would nod once. "That's nice, Ethan." Then turn back to my brother. I learned to make myself small, to want less, to need less. My father had a saying, reputation takes 20 years to build and 5 minutes to destroy. I didn't understand then how prophetic those words would become, or that I would be his 5 minutes. I met Marcus Webb at the public library. For me, it was sanctuary, the one place no one measured me against my siblings. Marcus attended Jefferson High, the public school my parents refused to acknowledge. 17 years old, worked at his uncle's auto shop, and had the kindest eyes I'd ever seen. He found me crying in the biography section after my mother had forgotten to pick me up for the 3rd time that month. "Hey," he said, sliding into the seat across from me. "You okay?" No one had asked me that in a very long time. We dated secretly for 2 months, October 28th, 2004. I stood in a gas station bathroom staring at 2 pink lines, hands shaking so badly I could barely hold the test. When I told Marcus, he didn't run. He held my hands and said, "We'll figure this out together. You're not alone." I wanted to believe him, but I knew my parents. Their first question wouldn't be, "Are you okay?" It would be, "What will people think?" I told them at Sunday dinner. I didn't know it would be the last meal I'd eat in that house. November 14th, 2004, 7:32 in the evening. My father was mid-complaint about a property dispute. My mother was mentally assembling the church Christmas gala guest list. "I have something to tell you." The table went silent. 4 faces turned toward me. "I'm pregnant." My mother's fork clattered against the plate. My father didn't move. "Who is the father?" His voice was ice. I told him. Marcus Webb, Jefferson High, his uncle's auto shop. 11 seconds of silence. I counted every one. Then my father stood. "You will not keep it." His eyes moved across me like I was something that needed to be removed. "If you keep that child, you are no longer part of this family." By 9:15, I was standing on the front porch, rain soaking through my sweater, one suitcase at my feet. My mother had opened the door and pointed outside. Not my father, my mother. Nathan and Carolyn watched from the upstairs window. Neither one came down. I called Marcus from a payphone on Mulberry Street. 20 minutes later, he jumped out of the truck before it had fully stopped, wrapped me in his jacket, and held me while I fell apart against his chest. "I've got you," he said. "I've got you." $300 between us, a truck with questionable brakes, nowhere to go. That night, our neighbor Margaret Torres, 62 years old, retired school teacher, the only person on our street who didn't treat my father like royalty, saw me standing in the rain from her window. She opened her door before I could even knock. "Stay as long as you need." 3 days after they threw me out, my father mailed me a certified letter, like a business transaction. It stated that Ethan Myers forfeited all inheritance rights, and that the Myers family held no legal or moral obligation to him or any child born to him. I kept that letter. I've kept it for 20 years, and the night they came back asking for a favor, it was still there, waiting. Lily looked at them and asked the question they couldn't answer. "You came here for a grandson, didn't you? Someone to show off." My father tried to recover, the lawyer in him already recalibrating. "A granddaughter works too. We can adjust the narrative." "Adjust the narrative?" Lily's voice was flat. "You want me to lie to 200 people about my entire existence? Tell them I was studying abroad? I was born in Seattle. I've never left the country." My father checked his watch. "The party is November 15th. 10 days. We need an answer by the 10th. I stood. "I think you should leave." At the door, my mother turned back. "This is your opportunity to heal, Ethan. Don't let old wounds cost you your future." I watched them walk to their Mercedes, calm, composed, as if this had been any ordinary evening. When their car disappeared around the corner, Lily spoke. "You're not actually considering this." I looked at my daughter. Fierce, Brilliant, the person they had tried to erase before she ever took her first breath. No, I said, but I'm not done with them yet. That night, after Lily went to bed, I pulled a fireproof lockbox from the back of my closet. Inside were the documents of my erasure, the notarized letter of disinheritance, November 14th, 2004. 3 pages of airtight legal language confirming that Ethan Myers forfeited all claims to the family estate, and that the Myers family bore no obligation to him or any dependent thereof. Any dependent thereof. 3 words. That's all Lily was to them, erased before she was born. I photographed every page and backed them up to the cloud. Lily appeared in my doorway. She sat beside me and read the first page slowly. When she finished, her eyes were bright with tears she refused to let fall. They really just cut you out like you were nothing, I nodded. What are you going to do? I looked at the documents spread across the bed. Whatever I do, they won't be able to pretend anymore. The next morning, I called Margaret Torres. I told her everything, my parents' visit, the invented grandson, the $250,000 check. She listened. Then, 20 years, and they haven't changed one bit. I asked her about November 14th, 2004, her security camera. Did she still have the footage? I never delete anything. Old teacher's habit. 20 minutes later, my phone buzzed. A grainy image. A 16-year-old standing on a porch in the rain. 9:17 p.m., the address visible in the corner. That's you, she said. Would you verify this officially if needed? Honey, I've been waiting 20 years for someone to ask. 2 pieces of evidence, 2 witnesses. Now I needed a plan. Thursday, November 7th. An Oregon number I didn't recognize. Ethan, it's Nathan. 20 years. His voice was deeper, weathered. He told me how the grandson story started. Our mother had skimmed the Seattle Met article, seen the word child, and constructed an entire fiction. A brilliant grandson carrying on the Myers legacy. She told church friends, Rotary friends. My father went along with it, months of bragging about a boy who didn't exist. I should have come downstairs that night, Nathan said. Caroline and I have talked about it for years. We were wrong. He told me something else. The anniversary party would be live streamed on the church's Facebook page. 200 guests in person, and an unknown number watching online. Friday, November 8th. My father called directly. No preamble. Final offer. $250,000. Full reinstatement in the trust. I told him I knew about the imaginary grandson. Silence. His voice hardened. You're the one who brought shame on this family. I kept myself steady. I was 16 years old, scared and pregnant. I needed my parents. You threw me out and spent 20 years pretending I died. He hung up. 1 week, 200 guests, a live stream. That evening, I sat with Lily and Eleanor at my dining table. I spread out the evidence. The disinheritance letter, Mrs. Torres's footage, the article. They've spent 20 years controlling my story, I said, making me disappear, inventing a grandson, and now I'm going to that party. Lily's head snapped up. Not to give them what they want, I said, to give myself what I need, to tell the truth, in front of everyone who matters to them, on their stage during their live stream. Eleanor looked at me for a long moment. Then go. Lily reached for my hand. I'm coming with you. Are you sure? I've spent my whole life knowing they chose their reputation over my existence, she said. I'm sure. I called Nathan that night. Don't warn them. Don't tell them I'm coming. A pause. Yes. I looked out at the Seattle skyline, at the life I'd built from nothing, without them, in spite of them. In 1 week, we were going to show 200 people exactly who the Myers family really was. I took the microphone from my father's hand before he could react. Hello, everyone. My name is Ethan Myers. I'm Richard and Diane's youngest son, the one they told you moved to Europe 20 years ago. The silence in that ballroom was absolute. I didn't go to Europe. On November 14th, 2004, my parents found out I was 16 and expecting a child. That same night, they threw me out. Their lawyer drafted papers disowning me. They told me I was dead to them. I pulled out the notarized letter and held it to the camera. This document states that Ethan Myers forfeits all inheritance rights and that the family bears no obligation to him or any dependent thereof. I gestured toward Lily at the edge of the stage. That dependent is my daughter, your granddaughter. The grandson you've been bragging about for months doesn't exist. You invented him from a magazine article you never finished reading. My father reached for the microphone. This isn't the place. When is the place, Dad? You came to my house last week and offered me $250,000 to make your lie look real. I turned to the crowd, to the camera. I'm not here for money. I'm here because I am done being erased. Pastor Harrison stepped forward. Richard, is this true? My father had no answer. Nathan stepped onto the stage. Then Carolyn. She's telling the truth, Nathan said. We watched from the window while our parents put our 16-year-old brother out in the rain. We said nothing. That was our failure. I pointed to a woman in the back row. Margaret Torres, flown in from Portland. She saw everything. She has photos and timestamps. Mrs. Torres stood. I watched that boy stand in the rain. I gave him a place to sleep. The Myers family never once asked where he went. I handed the microphone back to my father. I didn't come here to destroy you, I said quietly. I came here to stop being invisible. Then I raised my voice. 20 years ago, I was thrown out with nothing. Today, I run a design company with 22 employees and $4 million in revenue. My daughter is at the University of Washington. We built that without them. I looked into the camera. I'm not here for revenge. I'm here because they tried to buy my silence, and because they deserve to face what they did in front of every person they've spent 20 years lying to. Lily stepped to the microphone. I'm Lily, the grandchild they never wanted. You could have known me. You chose not to, and you don't get to pretend that was ever our fault. She handed it back and walked off stage. I followed. At the door, I turned one last time. I'm not suing anyone, but if you spread lies about me or contact my daughter without her consent, every document I have goes public. I have the letter, the timestamps, the witnesses. I nodded toward Mrs. Torres, and now 200 more. We walked into the cold November air. Lily took my hand. Did we do the right thing? I thought about a 16-year-old standing in the rain with one suitcase. We told the truth. We set a boundary. We let them face what they chose. I pulled her close. That's not revenge. That's justice. The fallout was immediate. The mayor left without a word. By Monday, my father had resigned as church elder. By Wednesday, the Rotary Club announced a membership review with his name attached. 7 new client inquiries came in that week alone from people who'd connected the video to my article. A week later, my mother called, her voice smaller than I'd ever heard it. I've watched the live stream 11 times. I keep looking for my son, the one I put out in the rain. A pause. My granddaughter stood on that stage and said she'd spent her whole life knowing we didn't want her. I couldn't breathe. I'm not ready to forgive you, I said. I might never be, but I'm not hanging up either. That's more than I deserve. Yes, it is. Thanksgiving 2024, my table seated 12, Lily at my right, Eleanor at my left, Mrs. Torres teaching my nephew napkin folds, Nathan carving the turkey, Carolyn's kids arguing over the candles. My parents weren't there. Maybe they never would be. But looking around that room, I understood something I hadn't before. I'd spent 20 years grieving a family that never really wanted me. Now I was surrounded by people who chose to show up. Not for a version of me, for me. Lily raised her glass. To the family we build, not the one we're born into. 20 years ago, I was a scared 16-year-old watching taillights disappear into the rain. I thought it was over. I was wrong. I had Marcus, for as long as I could. I had Mrs. Torres, who opened her door without being asked. I had Eleanor, who believed when I had nothing. I had Lily, who chose fierce over bitter. And eventually, I had myself, the version who stopped asking for permission to exist. Setting boundaries isn't revenge. It's survival. Sometimes the family you build is stronger than the one you were born into. My parents haven't truly apologized, but I'm not waiting anymore. I'm living the life I built, the life I earned, the life that belongs entirely to me. That's not a happy ending. It's a real one. And real endings don't need applause. They just need truth.